Welcome back to the Face of America channel.
Memorial Day, the federal holiday in which we honor our veterans and remember those who died while in the armed services, originated in the aftermath of the Civil War. On both sides of that conflict, North and South, families and brothers in arms of the fallen came together in grassroots commemorations to lay flowers on the graves of the dead in honor of their sacrifice. This day of remembrance was initially known as Decoration Day. The national observance of Decoration Day, in part, is traced to an order by Major General John A. Logan, the Commander-in-Chief of the Grand Army of the Republic, a fraternal organization of Civil War Union veterans. On May 5, 1868, Logan instructed members of the GAR that, quote, "The 30th day of May, 1868, is designated for the purpose of strewing with flowers, or otherwise decorating, the graves of comrades who died in the defense of their country during the late rebellion, and whose bodies now lie in almost every city, village, and hamlet churchyard in the land." End quote. Over the years, the meaning of Decoration Day evolved, gradually expanding from a commemoration of Civil War dead into a day to honor fallen members of the American Armed Forces from all wars. In 1888, an American diplomatic delegation to Mexico visited Mexico City National Cemetery on Decorations Day. The delegation laid flowers at the Soldiers' Monument, marking the graves of American troops who died in the Mexican War, in one of the earliest observances at a site that would eventually be maintained by the ABMC. As the meaning of Decoration Day evolved, so did the name. By the late 19th century, many Americans were using the term Memorial Day. In May 1918, as thousands of American troops were fighting in France during World War I, the U.S. Army held Memorial Day ceremonies in the temporary cemeteries throughout the country. The following year, President Woodrow Wilson gave a Memorial Day address in Chauresnay, American cemetery outside of Paris, which in time would become one of 8 permanent overseas World War I military cemeteries, administered by ABMC. During World War II, temporary cemeteries were once again established in combat zones, and were the settings of Memorial Day ceremonies. These observances would continue after the war ended, as the temporary burial grounds were consolidated into the 14 permanent overseas American cemeteries created for the interment of World War II dead. Every year during Memorial Day weekend, ceremonies in each of the 25 ABMC cemeteries honor more than 200,000 individuals. Speakers and honor guards pay homage to those who fell. These ceremonies, rooted in nearly 150 years of tradition, commemorated in these sites. Each headstone is decorated with a small American flag and the flag of the corresponding host nation. Ensure that the United States will never forget those who died in the armed forces, far from family, home, and the country for which they served. For many years, Memorial Day commemorations both domestically and overseas took place on May 30th. In 1968, Congress passed, and President Lyndon Johnson signed, the Uniform Monday Holiday Act. This legislation established the observance of Memorial Day on the last Monday in May. The red poppy is a nationally recognized symbol of sacrifice, worn on Memorial Day to honor those who have served and died for the United States. The poppy's origins as a symbol of remembrance dates back to World War I, when they were a common sight on the Western Front. Growing in the soil that had been churned up by fighting and shelling, Canadian soldier and physician Major John McCrae was inspired by the poppies to write his poem In Flanders Fields in 1915, describing the flowers that, quote, blow between the crosses row on row, end quote, among the soldiers' graves. In 1918, American humanitarian Moina Michael campaigned to make the poppy a symbol of remembrance for those who had died in the war. In 1920, the American Legion officially adopted the poppy as its flower to memorialize the soldiers who had fought and died in the war. The poppy can also symbolize hope for a peaceful future and support for the armed forces community. When worn, the poppy should be placed with respect on the left side, over the heart. In Flanders Fields, by John McCrae. In Flanders Fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing, fly. Scarce heard, amid the guns below, we are the dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from falling hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Fields.
Face of America, hear our call. United we stand, together we'll rise tall. From the mountains to the shining sea, history's heartbeat, proud and free. Stories of courage, love and light. In our hearts we find the light. From the past we draw our strength. Face of America, we go the length. Together we share, together we shine. In every corner our spirits entwine, building a future hand in hand. Face of America, and I would be the stand. Together we shine, together we shine. In every quarter life, spirits entwined, loving a future hand in hand. Face of Uncle America, united we stand. Together we share, together we shine. In every corner song, hey, many bands bring that and we stand. Ooh.